There is outrage in Idaho. There's outrage in Idaho. I'll refer to him as BK. Gets a deal. Gets a plea deal, okay? It's not just a guilty plea. It is a plea deal. He is getting a benefit from this. And that's a decision, a choice that was made by the prosecuting attorneys in this case. In this video today, it's not about vengeance. It's not about blood. It's not about eye for an eye. It's going to be about the law. It's going to be about justice. And it's also going to be about reality. Okay? I'm not practicing every day. I can pull back the curtain and tell you the real deal of what's going on here. But trust me, there is outrage in Idaho. There's outrage around the nation today. We're going to talk about it all. I'm first of all, knocked over and shocked by this. Knocked over and shocked. But this is not going to be hang 'em video. This is not going to be pitchfork time. This is going to be about reality, and this is going to be about the law. Yeah, I might get a little louder than normal. And this isn't about whether you are for or against the D-pen. That's irrelevant to this discussion, whether you are for it or against it. The only way it is relevant, I will discuss. But we got a lot to get to. My name is Vinny Politan. I'm the lead anchor for Court TV. My show is on television every night from 8 to 9, closing arguments with Vinny Politan. Then I have a second show called Vinny Politan Investigates from 9 to 10. Both programs are live. Both programs are true crime. Only guy in the business doing it night after night, day after day, Monday through Friday on Court TV. When I have an opportunity, I come on here to stream, to connect with you, the community, to see what you're talking about, what you think. And I also give you an opportunity to tell you what I think. And I think this stinks. Welcome to Vinny Live.
Get ready, get set, let's go.
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. Get ready. So post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set to like and to subscribe. Let's go. It's time for Vinny Live.
I cannot believe we are here. Okay. Like I said, this is not going to be a debate about the D-pen. We can have that debate. I don't think that needs to be the focus of what we're doing. I think reality and the law can be the focus of what we're doing and what we're talking about today with this deal. And it's a deal. Okay. I got a lot of things going through my mind. So I might be a little scattered from time to time. I'm also going to show you some of the reaction from the family, some of the quotes from the letter that the family got. But I want to start right here and understand a deal is a deal is a deal. You get something, you give something up. Okay. So what exactly was the deal here? I'll start with the letter. Okay. So this is the letter that was sent. I'll make it large. This is part of the letter that was sent to the families. We cannot fathom, this is from the Idaho Statesman who got to look at it. We cannot fathom the toll that this case has taken on your family. No, you can't. This resolution is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted, will spend the rest of his life in prison, and will not be able to put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals. Okay. All right. Which part do you want to pick apart? This is our sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. Okay. Well, it depends. Not every family, I think, necessarily saw what justice would be in this case the same. We know the Gonzalez family does not believe this is justice. So it wasn't a sincere letter to them. This agreement ensures that the defendant will be convicted. Yes. Will spend the rest of his life in prison? Maybe, maybe not. Let me start right there. Can I start right there? The Menendez brothers. That was life without parole. But the law changed in California, and suddenly the boys look like they're getting out. You don't know where the Supreme Court of the United States is going. You don't know where the Supreme Court of Idaho is going. You don't know what how the court will interpret the law in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. You have no idea where the court and the law will be. The law changes, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But I'm not buying this one bit that he will absolutely spend the rest of his life in prison. Who is to say that somewhere down the road, some justice or justices will determine that life without parole is cruel and unusual punishment? Think about all the other changes that are taking place in society right now. All the things that are accepted today as very normal that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago would have been, are you kidding me? So you have no idea where the law is going to go. You have no idea. You cannot guarantee that they will have life in prison. You want certainty in a sentence. The deep end provides certainty. At the end of that sentence, there is certainty. So you can say that he'll spend the rest of his life in prison, and I'm sure that's what they told the Menendez brothers years ago. But no. We will not put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades of post-conviction appeals. Oh, okay, so he's waiving his right to an appeal. He's waiving his right to win an appeal. He can still file it. It will get dismissed by a court, but there'll be a hearing about it. What also can potentially happen are the habeas motions that get filed. You don't think there'll be any habeas motion filed 10 years, 20 years, 25 years down the road? Really? Really? You can't. These are things you cannot guarantee because you do not control them. This is just the deal for today. But you cannot control the future and what laws get passed. And what the justices determine is just unconscionable punishment in our country. And then he can always say at some point, I didn't get the type of representation that I wanted, that I needed, and I was misled. And then he files his habeas motion in federal court. So it doesn't necessarily go away, not by any means. That's why I don't agree with this. There's three things I don't agree with here. Sincere attempt to seek justice for your family. It depends upon which family is my guess, because all the families don't agree what they believe justice is. We know for sure the Gonzalez family does not agree with this. This ensures the defendant will be convicted. Yes, he'll be convicted. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. Probably. Doesn't ensure it. Will not be able to put you and other families through the uncertainty of decades post-conviction appeals. Well, there could be post-conviction motions filed. He can file an appeal. It'll be denied, but he can still file it. You can't stop people from filing things. So So let me get to the truth now of what this does guarantee, okay? This guarantees that the prosecution will not have to try the case. That's what this guarantees, okay? This guarantees the prosecution will not have to try the case and they will not lose, okay? That's what it guarantees. It also guarantees that he will not be put on the row. It guarantees that. That is done. That there'll be no chance of that. Okay, it guarantees that. What else does it guarantee? Oh, let me show you what it guarantees. And there's a reason why people fight to be kept off of the row. Those who favor life imprisonment without parole do so in large part because of the conditions under which prisoners live on death row. So it guarantees he will not live under the conditions that the prisoners on death row live under. Okay? It guarantees he won't be in solitary confinement in a small cell, which may be about 8 by 10 feet, the size of a small bathroom. It'll guarantee that he won't sleep on a steel bed or a concrete slab. Guarantees he likely will not be stuck with a steel toilet, steel sink, and a small writing desk. It'll guarantee that he will have some opportunity at some point for human contact. That's something you wouldn't get on the row. It guarantees he won't be in isolation for 22 to 24 hours a day and have some exercise time a few times a week. It guarantees that he won't have severely restricted visitation rights. It also guarantees that he'll have an opportunity to gain privileges for good behavior, something that you don't get on the row because your situation never changes on the row. It doesn't change. So that's that. Okay, so that's that. Those are the guarantees that he's getting. Now, for prosecutors, it's beautiful because they don't have to worry about the appellate process, right? They're guaranteed that if there is an appeal filed, they will win it very easily. It'll get dismissed before it's even heard. So what it guarantees is that from this point forward, things get very easy for prosecutors and they can close their case. That is guaranteed. That is 1,000% guaranteed. Okay? And prosecutors can notch it up as a victory. They count these as victories for themselves. So they get the victory. We got the conviction. That's what we wanted. He'll never see the light of day. Okay. But he'll have a life. You see, life is much different than being on the row, even if you don't make it to the end. Like even if you aren't executed, life on the row is much different than life without parole, because it's a life. You wake up in the morning, you might have something you're looking forward to that day. You might set goals. You'll do things. You'll read books. You'll likely get a tablet. I mean, you'll have all these things. You act really good and you'll get privileges. You'll have interactions with other human beings, if he even wants that. Life in prison is a life. It's not a life you and I would want. It's not a life you and I would ever wish upon anyone that we liked or were, or cared about. But it is a life. Life on the row is not. That's why they fight to not be put on the row. That's why they fight to get off the row, because day in and day out is actual extreme punishment. So much so that there are those in the defense bar who argue that life on the row is cruel and unusual. It's totally different scene, totally different, and not in a good way. Absolutely not in a good way. Do you think Scott Peterson is happier today than he was when he was on the row? Of course he is. Of course he is. And it's also one step closer to getting out. So those are the guarantees. So I'm not buying everything that prosecutors are selling here. Prosecutors like to clean this up. The prosecutors knew this was going to be a messy trial. This is a 3-month trial. And it was going to be hard. It wasn't going to be easy. This is a hard case without any guarantees. But you had the evidence. Why did you have the evidence? Why did you have that DNA on the sheath? I believe you have that DNA on the sheath because there was somewhat of a struggle in that bedroom and someone fought back. Someone fought as hard as she could, fought a lot harder than prosecutors are willing to fight over the next 3 months in this trial. Doesn't the victim who fought that hard and gave you the evidence, gave you that evidence by fighting, by doing anything and everything she could to try to save herself and her friend? And they fought inside that room on the top floor of that house. And as a result of resisting and fighting and standing up and doing everything you could, the one piece of evidence that locked the case fell into the hands of the prosecution, the DNA on the knife sheath. They fought, she fought, prosecutors didn't fight. They didn't fight. Prosecutors like guarantees. They like it to be clean, easy. Now let me ask you another question. This is about the law, right? The law. The law in Idaho says that this is a viable sentence for the worst of the worst. We always say the worst of the worst. This is what it's reserved for. This is who it is reserved for. If not him, then who? Why do we have it? Oh, I now understand why we have it. Because it makes things easier for prosecutors. It gives them a bargaining chip. Is that the purpose of it? Is that why the lawmakers in Idaho have this? Is this why they passed it? To make things easier for prosecutors? Is that the purpose of it? Or is the purpose of it punishment, deterrence, and finality? Now, you don't have to agree with the DPEN, okay? And I understand. I'm not going to argue with you about whether it's good or bad, but I'm telling you it's the law in this state, in the state of Idaho. Other states chose not to have it. Not even on the table there. Idaho chose to have it. Why does Idaho have it? Isn't it for people like this? Or is it for prosecutors to use as a bargaining chip to make their jobs easier? What do you think? What do you think the real purpose of it is? Because if it's just to make things easier, I almost find that you should not even have that. It shouldn't even exist as a bargaining chip. There was a time, I remember in New Jersey, that there was a thought that it was almost unethical to use that as a bargaining chip. Either you believe that is the proper punishment for the crime or you don't. It's not a bargaining tool. But those days are gone. There used to be a lot of talk that it was unethical to use it as a bargaining tool, but now I see it all the time being used that way. And is that the proper use of it? Well, maybe, just maybe, if you have problems with your case and you don't have the evidence that you believe you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt and knowing going forward. Well, if you don't believe you can prove the case, you shouldn't bring the case, number one. If you don't believe you can prove it. And by the way, just the fact that they called you up apparently it was initiated by the defense. If it's initiated by the defense, then you know you've got the right guy. There's not even a shadow of a doubt, which is not a legal standard, but like there's zero doubt, right? He's saying, I'll plead guilty. just take the firing squad off the table, please, which is the preferred, will be in 2026, the preferred manner of the executions in Idaho. But like there's no doubt left. You've got the DNA. You've got the Elantra. You've got the videos. My goodness, you got the bushy eyebrow witness. You've got a ridiculous defense, a defense that has no defense. And by the way, the other thing we should all realize at this point, and I've said it a million times, but please remember it, that, you know, the defense filing all these motions, making these arguments, et cetera, exactly what they should be doing. It keeps the system honest. Okay. And I said this defense team was fighting everything tooth and nail. Thank goodness they were. Thank goodness they were. And we want them to. In every case, we want them to do that. That keeps the system honest, because we know that there are prosecutors and investigators, very tiny amount, that aren't so honest. So to keep it honest, every defendant in every case needs a vigorous defense. But remember, and I've done a couple of videos on this, a bunch of times, about the ethical obligations. Prosecutor, the truth and justice, right? We get that. You don't go after people who are innocent. You can't hide evidence that helps someone prove that they are not guilty. You just can't do that. But a defense attorney has no obligation to the truth. Their obligation is to their client, to make those vigorous arguments based upon whatever evidence exists in a case, whether they're true or not. See, prosecutors can't ethically make an argument that is not true. One that they either know is not true or believe is not true. You can't do it. A defense attorney, well, I don't think somebody else did it, but there's some evidence here. Maybe someone else did it. They can make that argument. And they do all the time. In like 90% of the cases we cover, they make arguments like that. So when you see the defense jumping up and down, like in this case, you know, there were 4 people we want to point the finger at. All along, they know that he's guilty. Like they know he's guilty. How do we know? We know that he's guilty? Oh, they called him up and said, can we get a deal? So he can say what he did. Okay? So just keep that tucked away back here when you're watching these cases and listening to the arguments from both sides. They're not coming from the same place ethically, unless you have someone who is unethical. If you have an unethical prosecutor, unethical investigators, then you're going to get some of that garbage. But if everyone is playing by the rules are the defense can say things that maybe they're true, likely they're not, or maybe they're 100% not true. But they have an ethical obligation to make those arguments if they have some evidence that can point in another direction. Their obligation is to the defendant, not to the truth. Prosecutors are tied to the truth. So I hope this illustrates that in a very clear manner, an extremely clear manner. And don't take this the wrong way. I'm not going after defenses. What was the first thing I said? I said every defendant should have a vigorous defense to keep the system honest, because I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. Show me, just show me that you're doing the right thing. Okay. I know we've got a lot of comments. I want to get to the comments in just a second, and I'm going to be way behind, but thank you for waiting on that. I just want to go through some of the reaction from Gonzalez family, because I think it's important. I think this was one of the first. I can make myself small. It's true. and this was one of the first ones that they sent out. I think it was the first one. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. So that came out. And then there was, I think, some level of clarification to that. I would like to clarify a couple of things. We did talk to the prosecution on Friday about the possibility of a plea deal, and it was a hard no from our family. It was very nonchalant and barely discussed, as the majority of the conversation was surrounding the upcoming trial. Nothing in our conversation prepared us for the next steps. Sunday night, we received an email that sent us scrambling. We immediately jumped into panic mode and started making phone calls and sending emails. We met with prosecution again today to reiterate our views on pushing for the deep pen. Unfortunately, all of our efforts did not matter. We did our best. We fought harder than anyone could ever imagine. Please do not argue or try to tell us that we should have done this or that. We gave it 200% for the last 2 years and 7 months. One day we will tell you all what we have really been through from day one. You will all be shocked. We fought a long battle, but we lost the war. We did gain an army of love that we know will always stand by us. We have so much love for each and every one of you. You all gave us strength when we felt we couldn't take another step, called us off the ledge when we were ready to wave the white flag, and most importantly, prayed for us when we were in utter despair and hopeless. So much love to all of you. Can you imagine being and going through that? And this, and the line where he says, you'll be shocked by what we've gone through. I'm shocked by this. I'm shocked by this. Now, I understand there's 4 victims' families. They may feel differently about this. And obviously, they're all entitled to it. Some may not even believe in the deep end. Some might just say, I just want it over. I just want it over. I get it. I get it. But that's not all 4 of the families, number one. And number 2, the law provides what the law provides in Idaho. And yes, it makes your job easier. Yes, there's certainty that you'll get a conviction. But what is that? What is the deep end there for, if not this man, if not this monster? Like, this is the worst of the worst, right? There's no argument. Like, all these cases are bad. I get it. They're really bad. You know, the ones that go after their children or other people's children, I put them right next to this guy because that's what he did. He went after people's children. We could say they're all young adults, but my goodness, any of you who are parents, you have a child in college, that's a child. That's your child. So 4 children, young adults, whatever you want to call them, taken, who did nothing. This isn't a case where we get into a fight. This isn't a case of a love triangle. This isn't a case of, business dealings. This is a case of a man who was on a mission to do something, to do it. The most dangerous and diabolical in our society. And there's nothing you can do to stop him. You know, in some of these cases, there's like, you look at, well, maybe if this had happened, there was nothing that was going to stop him. And he wanted to do as much damage as possible. And he did. Can you imagine? And that's not who's getting the ultimate. Couple more posts. The deep end is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. I'm going to take myself out of this. Can you still hear me? You can still hear me, right? Yeah. The deep end is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. When available, it serves as a bargaining tool for the state, and when rarely applied, it's never enforced due to highly inefficient appellate process. The notion that someone can plead guilty to a crime and still face years of appellate delays reveals a systemic failure. The Latah County prosecutor's treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. We questioned decisions early in the investigation. Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Why was the coroner speaking to families? Why was an officer with less than 2 years' experience leading the investigation? Why was the University of Idaho involved when they declared it an isolated off-campus incident? Why was the university permitted to write a book about the incident while others were silenced under an overly broad order? A lot of great points here. It continues. Oh, I can't read the top. It was no shock how Latah County mishandled the plea deal. They vaguely mentioned a possible plea on Friday without seeking our input and presented the plea on Sunday. Latah County should be ashamed of its prosecutor's office. 4 wonderful young people lost their lives, yet the victims' families were treated as opponents from the outset. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with a letter attached. That's how Latah County's prosecutor's office treats murder victims' families. Adding insult to injury, they're rushing the plea, giving families just 1 day to coordinate and appear at the courthouse for a plea on July 2nd. Who do they think they are? After more than 2 years, this is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea's details. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward. Once again, we thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. There's a lot of pain there. There is a lot of pain there. It's tragic. It's outrageous. That's what it is. Okay, you've heard a lot from me. I'm going to go through comments from you. Understand I'm way behind, but I just got to scroll. We got some folks on X today. I'm live streaming on X, on Twitch, on Facebook, and of course on YouTube. Please subscribe. Please like. Come on. 1, 2, 3, like. Thank you. Now, like, not everyone's going to agree. Butterfly kisses. I think it was a stand-up deal. Good job, prosecution. Congrats. And I'm sure they're congratulating themselves as well. I tend to disagree. If it was a state where they didn't have the D-pen, okay. If it was a case where they had witness or evidentiary issues, okay. But they don't. They don't. They have the most compelling piece of evidence left at the scene in the sheath that held the weapon. So, but thank you, Butterfly Kisses. Appreciate it. And that was an early one. So yeah, I'm like 40 minutes behind, but I'm going to scroll very quickly, try to get current. I'm going to try to get current here, but I'll just randomly pick things as I see them. And on Facebook, Gail Hampton Goff. Since the lawyers seem to be going to acting school and are getting better at acting, lying, etc., we have no guarantee they will not get out. Also, America is getting softer on crime. Oh yeah, America is. If you look, like, if the American system of justice starts to look at punishment the way European countries and other countries do, life without the possibility of parole suddenly is deemed cruel and unusual. And then people will get out. It could happen. You know, may not happen in 5 years, may not happen in 10 years. This guy's only 28 years old. You don't think there's a chance that can happen in the next 45 years? Of course it can. Of course it can. Thank you, Gail. The Glare. Any update on my pitch to take Julie Grant's place on Court TV? No, Julie Grant is in solid ground. She is anchoring the mornings on your front row seat to justice, Mr. Glare. There you go. Let's see. Okay, this is interesting from Brit C. The families just want the truth, just like all of us. Yeah, but I think you also want, I mean, you may want the punishment that the law provides in that state. Like, if not him, then who gets it? If not him, who gets it in Idaho? Chad DeBall? Chad Daybell? Chad Daybell's getting it. Chad Daybell gets it. This guy doesn't. Chad Daybell's bad. Trust me, he's bad. He's just as bad as this guy. Two children in that case. All right. Jury duty pod, Kimberly B. Vinny, if a defendant is ready to plead, can the state reject it, or would that be an ethical, moral, legal debacle? Here we go. This is why you have to understand there's a difference between a guilty plea and a plea deal. Okay. A guilty plea, a straight guilty plea is, here are the charges. I go into court. I plead guilty to all the charges. Any defendant can do that in any case at any time. Any defendant in any case at any time can have their attorney set a hearing with the judge and say, my client wants to come in and admit to the charges. You can do that in any case. That's a guilty plea. A plea deal is when you agree to admit to the charges or some of the charges in exchange for some benefit. And that's what's happening here. That's a plea deal. Most people who plead guilty do so with a plea deal. It is rare that someone just goes into court and admits to the charges. It's happened a few times, but it's very rare. Why? Because they always want to get a deal. Well, give me something. I'm making your job easier, Mr. Prosecutor. I'm taking a case off your docket, Mr. or Mrs. Judge. So give me something for it. Give it to me. Come on, give me something for it. And he got something here. He clearly got a lot. So the plea deal now, there's been an agreement between the prosecution and defense. Usually it is binding. However, a judge cannot be told what to do. Now in Idaho, they have, I think, a Rule 11 plea deal that is, but it's usually for lower level offenses. It's not for cases like this. So anytime you plead guilty, the judge will read to you. And there's a sheet with like 75 questions that have to be answered and filled out by the defendant for the guilty plea. We used to call them the plea sheets. And they have to acknowledge everything that's going on here. They also have to acknowledge that the judge does not have to accept the deal. And if a judge doesn't feel that a deal is appropriate, the judge can reject the plea and just set it up for trial, or the judge can accept the plea but not accept the parameters of the plea and sentence their own way. But when you get into the deep end, it gets tricky because you have to have a jury. So the reality is, I don't know, 299 times out of 300, or maybe 999 times out of 1,000, the judge will accept the plea because it wraps up the case. It doesn't fall on the judge. It falls on the prosecution. If there's some perception that someone is giving a great deal to a really bad person. The judge is saying, well, this is what prosecutor said, so let's do it. And they clear it off the calendar. And that's what will happen here. You know, the judge wants to get rid. You think the judge wants to try the case for 3 months? No, they don't want to. It's easier. Take the deal. I'll accept this proposed deal by the prosecution and defense. So everybody in the system is happy because it's easier. It's easier. It's easier on the appellate division of the prosecutor's office. It's easier for the trial division of the prosecutor's office. It's easier for the judge. It's easier for all the support staff. But it is their job, right? It is their job. So Like you sign up for that as a prosecutor. And if you want to be a homicide prosecutor, you sign up for it. You need to be willing to try the cases. You have to. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business and you're working in the wrong place. But it's easier for everybody. That's why 999 times out of 1,000 it goes through. All right. Continuing to scroll. Okay. Okay. This is a good one. I like this from DRBR 2020. Not sure that is right, Vinny. I watched a documentary where death row inmates get much better accommodations in prison. Oh, do they? Okay. First thing, every documentary has a point of view. Every documentary has an agenda. So I take documentaries with a big grain of salt. Like, for instance, do the search on Google about this issue of the D-pen versus life in prison, and you will be bombarded with articles and studies that tell you how terrible life in prison is for these defendants, and how expensive it is to do the D-pen and how it makes no sense to do that. After you see all those articles that bombard you, take a moment and think about, I wonder which side of the spectrum the people who are doing these studies, writing these articles, and making these documentaries fall on. Do you think they fall kind of on the, what's considered, I guess, the more conservative law and order side, or on the more liberal, although we've seen crossover. We've seen crossover, but I'm saying traditional, liberal, soft on crime side. Who do you think is writing the articles, doing these studies, and making the documentaries? Okay? Know who the messenger is. Know who the messenger is and what their agenda is. The overwhelming agenda online, and it probably has to do with the Google algorithm because they're on board with that as well. The folks in charge of the Google algorithm, the folks in the universities who are doing these studies, the folks who are making documentaries, all lean way to one side. And it's not the side that believes in the D-pen. They don't believe in it at all. And that's why that information is totally skewed. Through the years, I've had an opportunity to have people who've done studies who don't come from that perspective, who went in and looked at it for what it was and painted a very different picture. Anyhow, but thank you, DRBR. And I'm sure there may be some circumstances in some places, but like that's isolation for decades. You are isolated for decades. Every day is the same. There is nothing to look forward to. Life in general population is, there's privileges. There's, people that get the special badges that can walk around and do stuff. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's some danger too, because there's other people there. But I have yet to see I've seen defendants say, just send me there. You found me guilty, just send me there. And then they don't get sent there. Anita Mayhew Wilson. I think I heard Steve Gonzalez say, not all families were for this, but he was not going to speak for them. Yeah, like I said, the families see things different. I'm sure 4 families aren't going to see this issue the same. I mean, they're all dealing with devastation. And I don't think across the board you're going to, but the law is the law. And Gen X, of course, one of our mods from our amazing, amazing mod squad, talking about some judges will require the allocution, but I do not think this judge will. And this is very foreign to me because in New Jersey, when I was a prosecutor, even on the most simple case, judges would require a factual basis for the guilty plea, which is the defendant himself or herself telling the judge what he or she did. And usually there'd be a back and forth. Sometimes the person would just say it, or sometimes the judge would prompt them. If you had someone, who was a little more limited between the ears, sometimes his or her lawyer would help them through this factual basis. He clearly can explain what he did. That should be required. And when I was practicing, it was required because for a guilty plea to be accepted by a judge needs a factual basis to believe that, yeah, this is the person that did it. How do I know this is the person that did it? Because they just told me on the record that what they did. They have admitted to it. They have provided direct evidence to me, the judge, which is the factual basis, what you did. Let's hope that this judge requires it. But as I mentioned, Gen X, one member of our fabulous mod squad.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The mod squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The mod squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean.
All right, big thanks to Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubey on YouTube, and Ashley Bouchard in the wild, wild west of Facebook. Our mod squad, best in the business. And I think you'll all agree, best in the business. Off the record with a great point here. The state and university wanted this case to go away from day one. Oh, yes, they did. Oh, yes, they did. What did they do? They knocked down the crime scene, as quickly as they could, even though it would help you prove your case in court with a jury view. I think this is a big, big, big part of what's going on here. The state, we just get these people away from us, get the media out of here, get the attention away from us. We just want to go back to our lives. We just want to forget about it. We want to pretend it never happened. But for those 4 families, it did happen. You can't make it go away. You're trying to make it go away, but it's not going away for them. It never will. And the university, as well. The university, we're about the students. University about public relations. Let's be honest. There's a lot of PR going on with the university in this. Ashley Bouchard, with all of us, hope these families get peace. And again, they're going to get peace in different ways. The families that haven't spoken up may very well feel like this is the best way for them. Some of them may feel the same way as the Gonzalez family. But there's more to it. There's more to it. And let's think about this for a second, right? So we're talking about the families. Let's talk about the families for a second. Some families might want something. Other families might want something else. The families, and this was proven by the actions of the prosecution here, the families are not parties to the case. Okay? They are not parties to the case. They do not make decisions about the case. Usually prosecutors consult and want to work with them along the way, but they have no obligation to do so because it is the people of the state versus the defendant, as represented by the prosecutor. So, on one hand, if you have a family that wants this to go away, and you have another family that wants you to seek the appropriate punishment for this type of crime, and you have families that are on different sides of it, one family or another is not going to necessarily be happy with what you do and what your actions are. That's inevitable. But that's why I said we come back to the law. What is the law in Idaho? What punishment does Idaho provide? And someone who engages in mass carnage like this, why does he not get the ultimate punishment? Who is it for? And what is the purpose of that punishment? That punishment was used as a token. I personally do not believe that is the purpose of having the D-pen on the books. 3 purposes. 1, general deterrence to the rest of the potential offenders out there. 2, specific deterrence to the defendant himself. Because once you get that penalty, you'll never do it again. And 3, which is, does the punishment fit the crime? And if he doesn't get it, then why should anyone get it? Because the law also needs to be applied evenly across the board. So if this mass red rummer doesn't get it, why should anyone else get it? Like, just take it off the books. But they won't. Why? Because it's a tool to make the job easier for prosecutors and for the judges and for the system. It's easier to use it, to dangle it, and then not have to actually use it. That's the truth. That's the truth. I like to deal in the truth. I like to deal in the law. Kim Wade watching in the UK. Thank you so much. Life is only 12 to 25 years. I'm telling you, the rest of the world is much softer on these types of crimes. They just are. And who's to say that could not seep into our nation? Hopefully it doesn't, but you can't guarantee it that things don't change. And when the law changes, then outcomes for people can change. And we saw it. The law changed in California that gave the Menendez brothers another opportunity beyond their appeals, because they were out of appeals. So just like here, where you're saying he waives his appeals, the Menendez brothers had no appeals left. But it didn't stop them. It didn't stop them. Whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant. They received the sentence that this defendant received. Life without parole. And they now have the opportunity for parole. So there's no guarantee. All right. I'm still way behind. I apologize. I'm way behind. All right. Courtney Dobbs with a question. Thank you, Courtney. What exactly will be happening in court tomorrow? Tomorrow is supposed to be the plea hearing. Okay. What should happen, and we don't know exactly how it'll go down. And this is the way it's done in courtrooms across America. The judge gets on the bench, the parties are there, and the judge will say something like, my understanding is we have a proposed agreement in this case. And then the prosecutor is supposed to get up and tell the judge, usually the prosecutor does, maybe the defense will do it here, and will inform the judge on the record out loud what the parameters of the plea agreement are. The judge will ask if all the paperwork is filled out and signed by the defendant. And if everybody's on board, then the judge, will likely go through a list of questions for the defendant to make sure he is knowingly involuntarily entering into the plea. So there's a whole long list of questions that he's going to have to answer and verify, and he'll be given a million opportunities to get out of it. Each question, as they build a record that they want to ensure cannot be down the road undermined by some motion made by the defendant, that it was not knowingly made, and it wasn't he was under the influence of something, or he got bad advice, or whatever it is. The judge will cover the record with standard questions that they ask in every case, whether it's a little case or a huge case like this. And then the big unknown is whether or not the judge will require the defendant to tell the court what he did. Sometimes they can do it with just a few sentences, very vague. Did you do X, Y, and Z? Or sometimes they want more details. It depends upon the state, the jurisdiction, and the individual judge. So we shall see. We shall see. I think it's 1 o'clock tomorrow, so you want to watch it. But that's what usually happens. And then when they're done, they will set it for a sentencing date. And the conviction is not final until there is a sentencing. And sometimes there'll be a pre-sentence investigation of the defendant that'll be done. There may be some people that write letters, and then the victims should have an opportunity to speak or be heard. And that would not be tomorrow. That would be at sentencing, if everything goes as it normally does. But we'll see. There's a lot of variables in all of this. And then the understanding is that later this month would be the sentencing. Then at the sentencing, you have the victim impact statements, and then the judge does his spiel, and then the sentence, and then the conviction is final, and he's sent away forever, not to be heard from ever again. Right. Yeah, right on that. Hope that answers your question, Courtney. I see I'm still way behind, so I'm skipping a lot. It's like spinning a wheel and we're seeing where it's landing. Oh, Sharon Shuvala on YouTube. Vinny, do you think the judge in this case will, at a minimum, require BK to say what, and more importantly, why he did this? The what, I hope. The why, I would be shocked. The why, I would be shocked. I would be shocked with the why. Cheryl Jones looking good in the hoodie, my cute boy. Oh, by the way, this hoodie, along with the rest of the True Crime merch, is all available at the Vinny Originale True Crime merch shop.
Everybody, hey everybody, I've got something for your body. For your body. You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's True Crime merch from Vinny Originale. It's True Crime merch. It's True Crime merch. It's True Crime merch from Vinny Originale. From Vinny Originale.
All right, you can go. Here's the link. We'll put it in the comments, and you can get your own True Crime merch from the Vinny Originale shop. Thank you so much. All right. I see some questions that I think I answered already, so I'll skip past those. We've got unnamed TC with Avery. I'm curious about what civil suits can come. Who can the families bring suits against? Well, that's interesting. I don't know if it would serve a purpose here, because you're talking about wrongful death. Wrongful death, the damages are monetary damages. The defendant, obviously, you can bring it against him, but he doesn't have two nickels to rub together. But But you can, like, if you really want a trial, you can attempt to force a trial. And then you would have the opportunity. Oh, wait, I got to do something here. 1 second. I just got a little note from my little computer here. All right. They got too many windows open. I was getting a warning, danger, danger. But what would be the purpose? So I want to think about that for a second for a civil suit in this case. So if you wanted the opportunity to question him, you could depose, you could sue him and depose him and make him answer questions. That would be interesting. Like if you just wanted to get answers, that could be a way to get answers. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to get damages. You're not going to get money. He could attempt to avoid being deposed just by folding the towel and admitting liability in the case and not contesting damages. I mean, because there would be a way for him to get around being deposed. I don't think there's anyone else to bring the suit against. The landlord of the home, you're not going to do that. So there's really no other potential people who would be liable for any of this. The only reason I could see for a civil suit would be to attempt to depose him and make him answer questions. But there would be ways for him to maneuver around that just by throwing in the towel and admitting to it like you would plead guilty, but in a civil sense and not contest damages and just have a default judgment where you don't even respond to the civil suit. So that's possible. So yeah, I don't see this going in that direction. All right. I'm going to keep scrolling through, trying to get somewhat. Gen X, let's send BK to Texas. Texas will do it right. You know what's interesting about Texas is that even in cases that aren't DPEN, a lot of times the jury will do the sentence. And sometimes they're a little more lenient than you would expect in some of the cases when the jury does the sentencing. But yeah, but like, that's the other shocking part, right? This is Idaho. This is Idaho. This is law and order country. Idaho is. That's, to me, that was the shocking part of this. I was like, why would they in Idaho give him a deal? Why would they give him a deal? Is there something we don't know about the weakness of their case that's going to blow up in them? They won all their pretrial motions and they are on sound legal ground. But yeah, Texas, as long as you're not in Austin. Thanks so much, Gen X. Let's see. I'm scrolling fast. Suzanne Seidel, what's the point of having the DPEN and not using it? To many games being played, the defendant should be held accountable. Yeah, I never loved it as a tool to gain a guilty plea. I mean, there are some circumstances. For instance, if you have like an underage child who is going to be a witness in the case and you don't want to subject them to that, you know, you can kind of dangle that. Like if there's there are circumstances. This case did not have those circumstances. Yeah, it would have been difficult for the surviving roommates to testify. It was going to be tough for them. Absolutely. But the whole thing has been difficult for them. The one argument I hate when people make is the cost. That drives me crazy. It's so expensive to do the trial. And your point is what? Defendants who commit crimes that cost money to prosecute get a deal? Like, to me, that one makes steam come out of my ears when we talk about the cost. Oh, the cost. The cost. Oh, the cost of the D-pen. And if you don't like the cost of it, then pass a law that gets rid of it. If you don't like the cost of trials, then I don't know, don't arrest people. Like, give me a break about the cost. That's one I have no patience for that argument. All right. Thank you, Suzanne. All right. I think I am currently current. Okay. I scrolled. Lisa Herrera, hopefully no appeals will cause the families less pain. Yeah, that is helpful. There's a benefit to that for the appeals. However, it does not prevent motions from being filed. And it may not be this year, next year, the year after. Maybe it's 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. My guess is you will hear from this individual again. Oh, this is troubling from Michelle Desiker. On another network, I heard the prosecutor in this always makes plea deals on red rum cases. He's only prosecuted 3 red rums in his entire 33-year career. That's troubling. You need to get a different job. You need to get a different job. If you're giving away deals because you don't want to try the case. All right. Sue Forte over on Facebook. Thank you so much. Has a question. Vinny, wouldn't it be a little less painful for the families not to have to go through the lengthy appeals process? There's no guarantee that he would get the DP even with a trial. Yeah, there's no guarantee. But we are in Idaho. Do you think he wasn't going to get it? No, honestly. Anyone, does anyone here think that if you got 12 people from Idaho on this case with these facts, that he would not have gotten the D-pen? Anyone? Like, I get it. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee of a conviction either. But in this case with these facts, I mean, this was an incredibly strong circumstantial case with no viable defense. No pointing the fingers at boyfriends or girlfriends. Wasn't going to be allowed by the judge. You would just have to do, it was a shoddy investigation and you didn't follow up on this. You didn't follow up on that. But, yeah, you found the DNA. Like, goodbye. There was nowhere for them to go. Unless you had like a really, 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 really bad jury. Like, when I say bad jury for a prosecutor, which would be a good jury for a defendant. All right. All right. Rebs 13. This was always going to be the outcome of this PSYOP. The plea will be an Alford plea. Mission complete. All will be forgotten in time. Mission was social media and constitutional rights. It's not going to be an Alford plea. An Alford plea is something different. An Alford plea is where a defendant goes in and says, I am not admitting my guilt. What I am conceding is that you have enough evidence to convict me. Those deals are rare, an Alford plea, and personally, I would not accept one if I was a judge. And this one, prosecutor, I would not accept it either. This is a straight up plea bargain. Sarah, with an exclamation point. I love it. It's got to be infuriating. I can't even say it. And not being kept in the loop is an insult to injury. I was assaulted very badly by a man. So sorry, Sarah. And the process on victims is a joke. Absolutely. I can't imagine how these families feel. Like you're a victim in an assault case. And you're like, oh, I get it. They must be dealing with the red rum victims, but they're not. They're not. It's the weak link of our system. Some offices do a great job of it. Some don't. And I think part of what you have to understand, and thank you, Sarah, part of what you have to understand when you sign up to be a prosecutor and work in victims advocacy, et cetera, is you got people that have been broken. You've got people that have a hole in their heart, and you've got to expect all the different emotions to come from them and expectations. And you need to be ready, willing, and able to deal with their questions and their concerns all along the way. I think it's part of the job. It's part of the job. Now, as a prosecutor, if you're preparing for a trial like this, you can't take a lot of time on that. So you have to have a separate full-time advocate who can do that work, but you still have to touch base. You can't be aloof. One of the problems in this case, though, was the gag order. The gag order created problems. Now, let's see how Idaho does here in the aftermath of all of this. Will they still attempt to keep everything sealed and secret? Because they've done that in the buildup to the trial, but there is no trial, so there is no jury. And this is a public case. There is a public record, and the records need to be made public. I believe they will, but not guaranteed. Not guaranteed. All right, folks. Don't forget, you can watch me every night from 8 to 10 on Court TV. Obviously, we'll be talking about this tonight. Plus, we are on Verdict Watch. Hopefully, nothing happened while I was online here with the Diddy case. But we're on the Diddy case as well. So 8 to 9 and 9 to 10, 2 live programs coming your way. And what else do we have here? Oh, here's what I'm going to do. 1 second. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in the chat because people were questioning whether both cases both television shows are live because I wear different clothes each hour. We'll actually do a wardrobe change, and I posted, let me see if I can pin it. No. I don't know what I can do here. There it is. I've put the link to a video I did absolutely proving that the shows are live. Get the full wardrobe change in there. Vinny, love your insight and view on this. Thanks so much. Script to acquit. That's a great handle, by the way. Script to acquit. Look at this, right? Ambitious. I like it. In Canada, it is deemed cruel and unusual punishment to not allow a chance of parole after 25 years. This is what I'm saying. Like, the law changes. You could end up with either a Supreme Court of the United States or a Supreme Court in Idaho or a legislature in Idaho that changes the law that says life without parole is cruel and unusual. The moment that happens, this dude now is no longer guaranteed to be behind bars for the rest of his life. So you gotta understand that. Mo, the pro burgers are living in La La Land. Yeah, well, they should understand that, yeah, he tomorrow will go in and admit what we've all known from the evidence, what we've known from the evidence that's been made public, which isn't all the evidence. but is very compelling evidence. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One second. One second. Just checking a message from work here. One second. All right. The latest I'm seeing, no verdict yet in the Diddy. All right, Jenna, is the plea deal 100% confirmed? Well, because of the order preventing prosecutors from making public statements, it hasn't been confirmed from them. What we have is confirmation through the families who received a letter and the addition of a new hearing date, which is tomorrow at 1 o'clock, July 2nd. So that's what we have. So that's as much as you can confirm it. So we believe the deal has been offered and accepted, but then you have to go into court, put it on the record, and then have the judge perhaps accept it tomorrow or accept it on the day of sentencing. Okay, so that's where we are on that. By the way, we do have to do something. It's time to roll here. Oh. One second. I got so much that I'm doing right now. It's crazy. All right. All right. My apologies. By the way, we've got Sue. This is funny. SueTube is watching on 1.75 speed to catch up. Missed you, Vinny. I guess people do that, right? People do that. So it is July 1st. I didn't even realize it. So we finished the second quarter of the year. Where are my papers? I need my papers. And we had the blood sugar game, not as many times as I want, but we ended up with a tie. So we have to do a lottery to see who our winner is for the second quarter on the blood sugar game. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Hold on a second. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do that maybe tomorrow. I think we'll do that tomorrow. Can't do that last minute. I just realized that it is the 1st of July. So we will, in fact, have a we'll pick a winner. I'll try to set it up for tomorrow as long as everything works out as hoped here. In the meantime, for those of you who don't know, I am type 1 diabetic. And this is the part of the show where you have to guess my blood sugar. And there's a little song that goes along with that. And I have to get the song. 1 second. Here we go. Time to guess my blood sugar.
I'm type 1. Here's type 1.
His pancreas is on the fruits. He has diabetes, type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? Under 70, he gets lightheaded. Under 60, all the alarms start ringing. Over 180, he starts to get lethargic. But when it's 90, Vinny, eyes are singing.
A lot of quotes, guesses.
And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar? But take a guess. Yes, take a guess. Let's guess Vinny's blood sugar now.
129 CSI, common sense investigator with the victory. Although it's a confusing post here. Was it 139? I meant 129 because it clearly was not 139,000. That would be way too high. This might be a controversial one, but I have to give it to you. I saw the 129. I'll just check real quick. Yep. All right. Let me put that in the books. For the third quarter. The third quarter has begun. Mark it down, 7-1. So what we'll do is, for the big giveaway, since we had a tie in the second quarter, no one won more than once. Everyone who won once in the second quarter will be placed into an official lottery, and the winner will be drawn. We will either do it live or I will post a video. We'll do it. I will probably do it live. Got to do it live, right? The excitement of the live draw. So if you were a winner, make sure you tune into my next live stream, whenever that may be. Likely tomorrow. I'm going to try tomorrow or Thursday. Because I have a big one coming up. We're going to go through these new videos in the sheriff case. So we've got that. Plus, we'll probably have more fallout from this as well. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone. And by the way, I'm always behind in the numbers. So you may have guessed the number before I post the winner. But that's because I'm probably 2 minutes behind scrolling through all the guesses. So that happens a lot. Like sometimes I'll get the number of someone who got it right, but you're like, yeah, but I just put that number up before that. But I didn't get to it because I'm always behind in the scroll. I'm a slow scroller. Anyhow. All right, so it's good news. All right, big crowd today. Great to see everyone. I'll see you tonight. What else? Okay, now we've got controversy. Controversy. USA Kiwi 1986 feels that we have to go back. All right, I'll go back through, and we've got Tabitha. We'll put Tabitha down. Tabitha will get something. Let's see if anyone else did 129 before Tabitha. Anita. All right, Anita Mayhew. We'll give you one as well. We're going to give all the 129s today a special gift. You're all in the running. I read that as a typo, like 139, but then I meant 139. Stay you some. We'll give Stay You Some a win. I'm very generous today. Everybody's a winner. Everybody's a winner. Don't want any unhappy people. And what this does is this puts you in a good spot. You get an early win early in the quarter You have an opportunity. All right, so I got them all. So CSI, Tabitha, Anita, and Stayasum all get the 129 today. So you all have gotten one win. So if you can get another win, good chance you can win for the quarter. Thank you all for playing the blood sugar game today. Always controversy. All right, what else do I have? I think that's all I have. By the way, speaking of blood sugar, I've got to get my lunch. So today, I think I'm doing my salad. I do this salad. I get the mixed greens with arugula. I get the Campari tomatoes. I slice those up. 2 avocados. Boom. Roasted pepper sliced thin into strips. Boom. Mesquite smoked turkey. Chopped. Put in. Then I make my famous balsamic vinaigrette with a thin slice of sourdough, toasted on the griddle. That's your lunch. That's coming up. You know, I was thinking of starting a series of videos called Food Court, where I make food and talk about the law. All right. Is everybody satisfied? Everybody have a good day. Don't forget to see me tonight, 8 o'clock. You have an appointment on Court TV. Keep your TVs close because the Diddy jury is deliberating. And as we know, a verdict can come in at any moment. Have a great day, everyone. Great to see you. Thanks to the great mod squad, all the super chats and the great comments. In the meantime, where is it? Oh, yeah. Please don't forget to hug the kids.
Say goodbye. Thank you for watching Vinny Live. We'll be back, but I don't know when. We hope that you will watch again. Vinny Live. It's Vinny Live. Whoa, it's Vinny Live. To our awesome mosh. Thank you for those super chats. Please hit the like and do subscribe. Let's do it again on Vinny Live. Now before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything. Before you go, just one more thing. Please post below. Say hey.